The thing about interviews is what everyone needs to understand is that an interview is, in essence, a sales meeting. So you're going, particularly at the start of your career, you're trying to sell yourself to a prospective employer. Selling's really difficult if you don't know how to do it, but it can be trained. You can learn how to do it. And those that get it will find that actually interviews are no problem at all. You'll be able to breeze through them. Some are lucky enough to do it naturally because of their personalities. But essentially, the first thing to understand about an interview is if someone's invited you in, it means they're interested in hiring you. They want to hire you. They want you to come in and be brilliant. Your job is to find out what they think brilliant is and then be that. If you can do that successfully, then there's a good chance you'll get that job. So how do you do it? Well, the way you sell, in the same way you do in interviews, you try and understand what someone's looking for. Why have they invited you in for that interview? What do they need? If you're going to see somebody about a web development role, for example, well, why do you think they are interviewing for that? Are they doing because they want to give you a job and they want to help you start your career? Not particularly. They're doing it because they have work that they currently can't handle, so they need somebody to come in and do it. So your job is to persuade them that you can handle that work for them, that you can make their life easier. So how do you do that? Well, that's when you get into displaying your competency. So if you know that a company works in X technology, then when you go in for that interview, you need to have some examples of what you've done to learn about that. If you haven't used it, what you know about it. You can only demonstrate, particularly at the start of your career, you can only demonstrate your willingness and ability to learn. But the key thing is you're not passive. Don't attend interviews as a passive person. You are there to proactively push yourself and your qualities and what you can do and display that to your interviewer. It's really important to get interviews off to a good start. The best way you can do that is making sure you know as much as you can about your interviewer and about their company. You absolutely have to have done research. You've got LinkedIn that will give you some background on the person or the people that you're meeting, so you should definitely look at that. There'll also be company information on the LinkedIn account and on their other social media. You've obviously got the company website that you can refer to. What you really need to do is come up with something or be able to demonstrate that you've done something more than just look at their website and turned up at the interview. So a bit of in-depth research is absolutely required. The reason for that is at the start of an interview, that's when you have the best opportunity to make a first impression. And if that first impression is, I've come to see you, I'm really interested in you, I've researched you properly, and I understand what you're all about, then you're off to a really good start. In the course of an interview, your interviewer is going to ask you questions. Those questions are, what they're trying to do is, yes, they want information, but again, they'll realise that you're probably a more junior candidate. So what they're actually trying to do is find out a bit more about you. Are you easy to work with? How do you get on with people? What's your communication skills like? Are you able to recognise body language, verbal cues? So these are things that you learn through experience. So practicing interviews is something that's always worth doing. It might sound daft, but getting a friend, family member, whatever it might be, to ask you questions and practice responding to them in a way that engages them. So that means looking them in the eye, using your tone of voice, where necessary, using hand signals. There's all the sort of softer stuff that comes along that allows people in an interview situation to feel like they're getting to know somebody and getting the best out of them. If you do all of those things, then these non-verbal cues will make people feel comfortable that you're the sort of person they'd want to have in their business. How you present yourself is really important in an interview. You've got to be smart, you've got to be crisp and clean. But more than that, you've got to have really positive body language. You can't slouch in your chair. You've got to be attentive and you have to listen to what the people are saying. If you spot an opportunity in an interview to talk about something that you have a good deal of knowledge on, then leap on it, demonstrate it, show your passion for that area of subject, but be careful not to rattle on. It's a fine line. Practice makes perfect, but it's about getting across your point, but without going on and on about it. As you get towards the end of an interview, hopefully you've already built a really good piece of rapport, you've been able to demonstrate your skills, and there's a good vibe in that meeting. You'll be given the opportunity to ask questions. it's really important you have a couple of pre-prepared questions, but also you'll need to think on your feet a little about what's cropped up and demonstrate genuine curiosity about who are their clients, what are their problems, what do they struggle with at the moment, how have people who've joined them in a junior capacity gone on within the business. They're just a few questions that demonstrate sort of a true curiosity about how you might progress within the business, but also an understanding and appreciation of what they want to get out of hiring somebody. It's always a nice touch after an interview to follow up with a message, either via LinkedIn or through email, thanking the interviews for the time, saying how nice it was to meet them, and that you hope to hear from them again soon. Part of going for an interview is understanding that you will be rejected. Nobody gets every interview they always go for. It's part of the game, being rejected. It's not a bad thing. It may not be that you're just not the right fit for that particular company. You need to look at it as the fact that you've gained some experience, and the next one going forward, you'll be a bit better at the next time around. And eventually you will get something. Part of my job as a recruiter, every single job we place, and there are dozens on a monthly basis, only one person can get those jobs. 2 or 3 people are being rejected. It's the way it goes. Get used to it, but don't let it knock you back. You've got to be resilient and keep going until you find the one that's right for you. As far as what to expect feedback-wise, you're probably not going to get a huge amount of feedback on why you didn't get an interview. But I'd like to think that if you attended an interview, you would receive some decent feedback. The trick with feedback is you need to read between the lines. Nobody wants to kick anyone when they're down. So if you can, in your follow-up message, if you've already had a rejection, please ask for feedback. Encourage them to be honest and take it on board in an open way. If somebody gives you feedback that is difficult to hear, it's not very nice, but the way you have to process that is to say, right, how can I change that next time so I don't get that again? And ultimately you should be grateful for that.